Get started.
Hey, what's up, fun lovers? Welcome to the Mobile Roar podcast for the week of October 10th, 2014, or 2014, however you like to say it. I'm Joe Fedor.
And I am Christopher Chavez.
And I am Kevin Kraus.
I notice that sometimes I say 2014 and sometimes I say 2014. I think 2014 is the appropriate way to say it.
2014.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I always got yelled at in school because they would say like you have to say like 102 and not 100 and 2. Like it's wrong for some reason. I don't know.
Hmm.
So,
Sounds like
Back
you have a
in,
real strict school.
well, I just think it's like, people have like rules, but where I come from, the rules are meant to be broken.
I mean, look at his little icon, his little
Yeah, I mean, that
avatar.
guy clearly does not care how you pronounce
I don't
102.
follow the rules. You can't really see in that
Like,
picture, but I'm wearing one of those silver ball necklaces in this Throwback Thursday shot I've got there, so
oh
real
shoot, I
rock
remember
kind of stuff.
remember those.
And of course, I have the Oriole in mine because of our bet we had last week.
Right?
My Tigers
Go.
got crushed by the Orioles.
Goes.
Go dog in the
Championship series starts tomorrow, so I mean, O's fans out there. Yeah, who'd be barking?
back. I always wonder, is it your dog or is it your wife's dog? Is that what's going on?
Well, she got it before we got married, but like, it's pretty much our dog.
Do you claim it as yours, or do you think do you refer to it as like your dog won't shut up? Or do you say like our dog is being really annoying?
Well, it's one of those things. In times like right now, it's
It's
her
your
dog.
dog.
It's her dog.
Oh,
All right, so I guess we'll get started here, and maybe I'll go see what my dog's barking at. HTC, tons of HTC stuff. Take it away, Chris.
So this week was kind of a big week for HTC. They had their double exposure event in New York.
Which almost sounds like
Where
it could be a bad thing,
double
exposure.
double exposure.
There's like a sexual crime being committed there.
It sounded weird, and no one really knew what was going on because they're like, wait a minute, like why is HTC like a smartphone manufacturer? They already announced their flagship phones, and they have all these other phones coming out, and like why do they have this double exposure? And we knew like the focus was going to be on some type of photography stuff. And traditionally we've seen HTC make these moves in pretty much all their smartphones on the HTC One S, the One X, if you guys remember that from way back in the day. Those used they had like a separate imaging processor that was supposed to make like photos look amazing. And before that, they did something to. It's just like there was always something that they were doing, some new camera technology for
Yeah,
smartphones.
they always made the camera like a really big thing of their announcements. They're like, the
And
camera is a super important part of the smartphone. We've invented this technology.
yeah, and it's never really performed like as advertised, I guess. I mean, it helps, and it's like in some instances, I don't know why, but it seems like just smartphone, cameras and all that mobile photography. It's always so hard to get right. I don't know how Apple does it. I don't know how they manage to nail it, but somehow it's like nobody can replicate it really. The only really smartphones I've seen do even come close are like the Galaxy Note phones. I don't know, whatever reason those have
Nokia.
like the best, or Nokia. Those are actually pretty darn awesome too. But yeah, so double exposure event. They announced three major things, but two new devices. The RE camera, they call it the RE, not REC. Originally, we thought it was going to be called the REC camera, REC, like
Is it
record.
pronounced? Do we call it the HTC RE or is it the HTC RE?
They call it the RE. That's what like the guy on stage.
It sounds pretty RE.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Like, do re mi fi la do.
It is a weird name.
I think re-camera almost sounds better. That's what I originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
Didn't
it's
the original leak, wasn't it like one word, uppercase REC, AMRA?
yeah, and it made sense because people were like, "Oh, that's way cooler." Like, it sounds cool, makes
Yeah,
sense.
HTC RE, it's just that's hard. You even see that written, and like I typed it a bunch yesterday, writing up a little comparison with the GoPro, and I was like, this just doesn't even look right when you write it. So, branding aside, though, it looks like a neat little device. Maybe a little bit more expensive than what I would want to pay for it, but it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's a video camera. For those unaware, it's supposed to kind of compete on the same lines as like the GoPros and stuff like that, but it's supposed to be more user friendly. There's no display, so you don't know like what you're recording. You're not always looking at stuff. You can just strap it on.
That was a really weird sentence right there. It's supposed to be user friendly. There's no display. Oh, really?
Like you don't have to always like fiddle around and mess with like your phone. You just push record and go. That's it. You're not always looking at it. Strap it on. You can smoke at it. It looks like a pipe actually because of the way
it kind of looks like a periscope.
I know.
Yeah,
people are just gonna be walking around like.
Yeah. I don't know, Chris.
It's sad because
those gestures in front of your face, though.
It looks cute. It looks cute, like a cute little thing, and I get it that whoever designed it was like, oh, this is awesome, and people saw it and were like, oh, it looks great, go with it. But I mean, as soon as this thing leaked out, people were making comparisons, like you said, to the periscopes and the elbow joints on a PVC pipe, all kinds of craziness, and it does look a little bit weird, I guess you could say.
It makes sense for kind of, if you think about how you use it, it's designed so like you would hold it in your grip and the little lens would pop up and you just walk around like with it in your fist.
Yeah.
And it's a cool form factor and it's compact and small and discreet, but my issue is I think that the form factor might actually hurt it a little bit because it's not instantly recognizable as a camera, and I've seen so many people, and even on Fandroid we've compared it to the GoPro, and I've seen a lot of articles saying this is like a GoPro competitor, but it looks so different than a GoPro that I think consumers aren't really going to consider them in the same class either, because
that's what HTC wants desperately, is to compare it to the GoPro.
I mean, and the thing is too, the video footage I saw is not that great. I think GoPro's video is awesome. The stuff I've seen is, I mean, they've pretty much nailed it with whatever video formats and stuff that they're using, their compression, all that stuff. But the video wasn't that great, and I mean, it's kind of different fundamentally how, like, a GoPro, it's always meant to strap onto something. You put it on your head, you put it on your chest or whatever, but this is like meant to be held, sort of. And there's accessories to put it on stuff, but like the whole form factor is mainly there because you're supposed to just walk around with it and document your incredibly boring life.
But I want HTC to convince me why I need to spend $200 on a separate camera like the Re instead of just use my smartphone.
That's the problem. They can't, and they think that there is a market. They think that everyone in the world is waiting around for another flip camera when there's a reason why flip died off and all those other ones, and our smartphones replaced that, and it's really weird. It's a really weird device. I haven't really seen anyone that was really too enthusiastic, like, oh yeah, I'll definitely pick one up, but especially at the price, $200.
It's been getting slammed pretty much.
Yeah, way steep. So, like, I mean, quality-wise, not that great. Just pricing a little too expensive, and just I don't know. I mean, I know what HTC's thinking. I mean, they're trying to expand their product portfolio outside of smartphones, which is cool,
But HTC they started making some good moves a couple years ago. They said, all right, we're going to simplify our product portfolio. We're going to focus on making one or two great smartphones each year, and it worked for them. They started to get back on the up and up, but I think it went to their head a little bit, and they're like, all right, now it's time to start diversifying, and this is the best they could do. They wanted to make.
They realized after making an awesome phone, I still think the HTC one they made, and a lot of people agree, is like the best smartphone out right now. But they can't break into the market. I mean, like, their market share is so small, it's so dominated by Samsung, Apple. They finally realized that, and it's like, okay, we need to do something else. Where can we go where there's really not that much competition? And it's like, I guess GoPro was the first thing that came to mind.
But it's not even. The reason I say it doesn't stack up with GoPro is image quality aside, portability aside. The GoPro is designed to go close to 200 feet underwater, or 130 feet, depending on where you look. They have different figures. But it can go, deep down in the water. It can go crazy. You can go to the top of a mountain with it. This thing, out of the box, has IP57 certification, which means it can go under 3 feet of water for 30 minutes without damage. So you could maybe do some underwater video, but it's not even designed in a way. It's like they're not saying, oh, put it underwater and take video. They're just saying, oh, it can get wet without getting damaged. So it doesn't even compete with GoPro on the fundamental sort of thing that GoPro does. The reason that people need a GoPro as opposed to just their iPhone or their Android phone is because the GoPro does things that those devices don't do. The Re doesn't really do anything that a smartphone doesn't do.
Exactly, and even as a companion device, it's something that's, it's redundant. Like, your smartphone already does it. And it would have made more sense for them to come out with like a HTC Desire smartphone that just was waterproof and had all these same just stuff like that. I would think like a cheap low-end Desire that goes underwater and
because I mean,
big
okay, the Re costs $200. You could just buy an Xperia Z3 and film underwater for $200 and have an awesome phone.
having awesome fun at the same time. There you go. It's like makes no sense. Really weird, but
Yeah, it's a strange decision.
yeah. But I guess moving on, they also announced a new smartphone, the Desire Eye, which is it's got a big old Cyclops 13 megapixel camera right in the front of it, and it matches the back. So the back has a 13 megapixel camera, and the front has a 13 megapixel camera. Both have colored dual LED flashes, which is kind of neat too. So I've seen pictures that people have been taking with that, and it looks pretty darn awesome. It's a pretty darn good camera.
So it's got cameras on both sides, like improved cameras on both sides, or is it just on the front?
Both sides. Both sides. You can record with both simultaneously. Video. You can take pictures with both simultaneously, like that app front back, and it's kind of awesome. It's kind of a really really cool phone. I mean, I showed it to my girlfriend. I told her what it does, and she was immediately like, "I think I want that." I mean, girls are into the selfies. They love that. And
But
she's
why
like,
is it a Desire and not the One Eye? Aside from the fact that One Eye would be like, just might as well call it Cyclops.
because I guess it's more like a build quality thing. Even though, I mean, like recently, I don't know if you guys remember on Sprint, they had the HTC One E8, which was like an M8 but 13 megapixel camera on the back, and it was made of plastic. And typically, the plastic phones on HTC like they release are usually their Desire line, but they try to keep the specs kind of low to that kind of mid-range price point. With the Desire Eye, it's kind of weird because they have a Snapdragon 801. It's got many of the same specs that you find in the One M8. Only difference is that it's got a plastic body and it has this huge 13 megapixel camera in the back. So in some ways, I mean, you can see it as maybe even slightly better than the One M8 if you're not really into all that metal stuff.
Yeah, the redness on. I saw the pictures of like a red version that looked kind of Verizon Droid-like almost.
Yeah, they had a
Incredible.
they have a white. They have a blue, red. I think those are the colors. The only one that's coming out here is the red, I believe. I think it's launching on AT&T. It's exclusive to AT&T, which kind of sucks, but usually these kind of offshoot devices like this, that's usually what we see. I'm still hesitant on whether or not I would even want to get it because I'm not really sure what HTC is going to do as far as updates go. They're kind of committed to their one line, and something that's different like this, a Desire, I would imagine it would kind of just fall to the wayside. We see that a lot with Samsung phones. So,
It's a very. I mean, the whole announcement was kind of strange, and this is the one time where I always get on Samsung when they'll do something like, oh, we'll announce the new Gear watch, but it's only compatible with the Galaxy Note smartphone. Like last year, they announced the Gear, the Galaxy Gear, and then they announced the Note 3, and they were like, oh, that's only compatible with the Note 3. This is like the one instance where I think that's normally pretty stupid, but here, since they announced the Re, they should have probably made some exclusive compatibility between that device and the Desire. Some kind of, make us have a reason to buy that little camera instead of.
I don't know. I feel like so few people are already gonna buy it.
it's gonna drop in price significantly. Probably, I'd say like whenever it comes out in the next like
It's a
couple
cool
of
little
weeks.
gadget, like the kind of thing that you might buy for $50, or the kind of thing that like I could see like a little teeny bopper having a lot of fun with a camera like that because maybe their parents don't even let them have a smartphone. I don't know when the kids get a smartphone these days, but
You would need a smartphone to transfer it. So it's just kind of such a weird.
I mean, what you're describing is pretty much the flip cam thing, and that died out, like Chris said, for a reason. So I guess
I didn't even realize until yesterday because I was like, oh, it's kind of like a GoPro, but I was like, you know what, it's really kind of like is that flip cam, but I didn't realize that was gone. I was like, I went to look for like the latest flip cam, and I was like, oh, they don't make that anymore.
Yeah, the company went under like a while back.
you probably got excited for a little bit, like, oh man, I bet the latest flip cam is awesome.
That's what I did. I was like, I bet the newest flip cam is way better than this HTC thing, and then I was like, oh.
Oh, poor flip cam. So the the Desire Eye, was there anything else announced, Chris?
No, there wasn't. That was kind of it. Oh, well, I mean, they announced.
It was what wasn't announced, right?
Well, so earlier in the week. Well, let me just say this first. That they did announce a new experience, the Eye Experience they call it, which is basically their camera app that they're going to update soon. for like all their flagship devices, and it's going to come bundled in on the Desire Eye, and it just has those features that I talked about with the dual recording and dual picture taking and all that stuff. But I guess HTC in an interview with Recode earlier this week, they confirmed that yeah, they had a smartwatch that was going to come out this year, but they actually ended up delaying it till next year or however long. I guess their reasoning was that they just kind of want to get it right, and according to HTC's lead design guy or something, he just says like nobody has gotten the smartwatch down right yet, and that's why they're kind of waiting in the wings to strike.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that statement that even with the Apple Watch, I don't think anyone has gotten the smartwatch right yet.
It makes a lot of sense, and I would say, well, HTC's got their head on straight, and then you see the and you're just like, wait a minute, what? Like,
Translation: no one's gotten a smartwatch right yet. Translation is we've been spending all our time making this
we got our.
You know what no one has done right is a durable camera. Wait a minute. Yeah, someone already
done
has.
right is the flip cam. No one's done that right.
All right, so that's HTC. Before we get into our quick hit news, we got a question here from Simon Tucker, and he says,
Simon.
I'm torn between the Nexus 6 and a Note 4. The N6 has updates going for it, but I love the stylus and camera of the Note 4. What is your advice? So he wants two devices that are not even available yet.
He's thinking about getting them. Which one he should?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we know more definitive information about the Note 4, so anything we say about the Nexus 6 is still kind of speculation at this point. I don't know. I
think the Nexus 6 is going to have what it's going to have it going for it hardware-wise is that it's going to probably have better battery life, and I'm assuming it'll probably reach something ridiculous because stock Android software don't have all the bloatware from TouchWiz. And then, I mean, he already kind of said it, the reasons why you shouldn't. I mean, you get the quicker updates from Google, which is always nice, but, I mean, Samsung bundles so many features in. He likes the stylus. He likes all the stuff that you can do with that.
Stylus and the camera. I mean, I guess it's fair to assume that, given past Nexus devices, that we can't expect a lot from the Nexus 6 camera, but then again, this is a device made by Motorola, and I mean, Motorola has had some success with their cameras recently. They've also had some things wrong with their cameras recently, but I mean,
Moto X has got a great camera, and according to like the leaked specs, it's supposed to have the same camera as the Moto X. So I'm guessing it'll look just as good, but yeah, I mean, you can't if you like the stylus and you can't live without it. I mean, obviously the Note 4, but for a lot of people, they want something big, a phablet, but they don't want to have to mess around with the stylus. They don't like Samsung's TouchWiz, so I mean the Nexus 6 is going to be freaking awesome.
The other thing to consider is size, because the Nexus 6 is going to be even bigger than the Note 4, won't it?
Yeah, it's only like a hair. From what I've seen the comparisons, and they had like a mock-up, someone like recreated it, whatever. But it looks it's like a hair bigger. I think the Note 4 what has it going for it is that it has capacitive buttons still. So it kind of brings down that display and makes it a little bit easier to use, but the Nexus 6 is going to be freaking huge. I've seen it in real life, and I was just like, holy crap, that's a big phone.
Yeah, for me, this decision would come down to the stylus isn't a big deal to me. Camera is, I like a good camera, but it's not going to make or break my decision. But ultimately, it comes down to having to use TouchWiz interface, and if you're familiar, say if you're coming from a Note 3 and you're familiar with TouchWiz and you don't mind it, then it's maybe not as big a deal. But for me, I wouldn't be able to do TouchWiz. I'd have to get that stock Android with the updates, and you'd have Android L right out of the box. So.
I mean, and not only that, the Note series, we've always seen like Samsung focuses on like quick updates with the Galaxy S5, and then when it comes to like the Note 4 or the Notes, they typically, they just it takes longer for updates to hit them because they have all this extra software with the S Pen and all that stuff that they have to worry about, make sure it's compatible. So, there's been some versions of the Galaxy Note. Maybe right off the bat, the next update after Android L, you'll get it, but the one after that, you'll kind of probably be screwed because we've seen that like there's Notes have been waiting around for Android. I don't even know what for like the longest time. Only recently been updated, so I think long term it's something to consider for sure.
My advice would be, even if you use the stylus a ton, what are you using even more than the stylus? It's the software, so make sure you get the software that you like.
Yeah, definitely.
We got another question here from Fandroid. So whoever sent this,
Oh God.
not sure. Probably Rob Jackson, I'm guessing. Sounds like you guys don't like the HTC Re, but what if you, one, don't need a flagship phone, and two, still want a phone with a great camera experience? Why not buy a cheaper smartphone and then get the HTC Re? Not a bad idea.
But you think about it, look at like the Moto G. I think that's a cheap smartphone that gives you a decent camera experience. I don't know like if that's really the solution here, but I mean I would be totally fine with just getting a Moto G and using that camera and then
I think
spending
the argument
extra money on like a mirrorless camera or something like that.
right.
Like
Yeah, I think the question would be a lot more compelling if the Re costs, say, $100, because then you could compare a $100 Re and then like a $50 smartphone. That's not bad, but I mean the Re's $200, so
yeah, $200. You're looking at, I mean, like you said, mirrorless cameras and stuff like that. You can get a cool Nikon J1 or something for almost $200, and it's just most of those have Wi-Fi built in, so you can transfer photos back and forth. It's like,
yeah, but also think about how cheap can you get an iPhone 5C or 5S right now and get a decent, solid camera experience on your smartphone for like $100 or less.
And then just put in a Ziploc bag, and then it's waterproof. There you go. Take it in the pool.
All right, so let's move on to some more quick hits news here. We were just talking about the HTC smartwatch a little bit ago. LG G Watch R is supposed to come out next week. That's their round Android Wear device.
G Watcher.
I guess it's supposed to go on sale next week already, isn't it? Or
yeah, I think it was. They were saying something about it. It's like launching in Korea or something. So.
Oh, okay. So a little bit more before we see it here in the
G Watch are going to be one of those LG or Samsung devices where they only release it in Korea and then we never hear another thing about it.
No, it's definitely coming everywhere because I mean it's a dad watch. Like this is like the perfect watch for like U.S. Americans.
Dad watch.
Maybe I'll get my dad one.
It's so looking sort of.
We look forward to that. Also, Apple event scheduled for October 16th. That is, what day is that?
That's gonna be a week from today. So it'll
a
probably
week
be
from today,
right now.
Oh snap!
We'll be live podcasting the Apple event.
Yeah, maybe we will. That's supposed to be iPad, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be iPad and also the OS X Yosemite release, which will be nice because it'll let users take advantage of those. Whatever they are, the features that interface
continuity.
The continuity features where you can text and make voice calls from Yosemite and route them through your iPhone. So that'll be nice. But yeah, we're supposed to see new iPads, and we actually got a leak of the new iPad Air earlier this week, or what is claimed to be the new iPad Air. It looks pretty similar to last year's iPad Air, but a lot of people have pointed out that it does carry some of the design of the new iPhone 6, which makes sense because the iPhone 6 in its own way kind of borrowed some design cues from the iPad Air, so it's all kind of full circle. Some things have changed. It gets a little bit thinner, about 0.5 millimeter thinner, so that's not extremely noticeable in the long run, but it's thinner, and it's definitely not something you should put in your pocket because I'll guarantee you this will bend.
Oh, I can't wait for the bend tests.
What Unbox Therapy is going to be all over that. He's right now licking his chops like, I can't wait.
But longtime iPad users, if this turns out true, longtime iPad users will have one thing that they might shed a tear for, and that's that the mute silent switch is going the way of the dinosaur. Apparently, they've removed it from the new iPad Air. So that cute little switch.
It's kind of a big deal.
That's always something I forget that the iPhone has, is that button, and it's actually really handy.
Yeah,
dude, I freaking love it. I'm just saying, like before I go to bed, just flick it, turn it off, or if I'm going someplace quiet, just flick it off. Like it's so much better than Android. It's like doop boop 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 boop, and then it turns off.
Yeah, I love it, and I probably like it for a reason that's like completely almost insane. But I love that it's just this very tiny, subtle splash of color on the side of the device. You wouldn't notice it, but like it's a nice. Because I usually have it always in silent mode because I only run my phones on vibrate. I don't like ringtones, but that nice little, you could just get a little orange splash there, little color in your day.
That looks cool, I'll admit. I like that little detail.
A little color in your day. You must live in a really gray world for that to be a little color in your day.
Well, like little, like literally a
Yeah.
very little amount of color.
All right, so another thing that happened, the Droid Turbo is leaked again in like a, I don't know, instructional booklet photo, I guess, where they're like pointing out all the stuff
That's
on
like
it. And
that's like an old school leak. We haven't seen like
yeah,
a
it is.
instructional booklet leak since like the Droid Incredible.
It's got a pretty big camera, 21 megapixels.
Yeah, they went kind of all out with this thing. It's almost stupid specs, and the phone itself is, oh my gosh, it's so ugly. I mean, if you guys,
It's a Droid.
I mean, it looks like a 2010 Droid. I feel like it looks like something from back when the G1, like the smartphones that started coming out around then. It's so ugly. I can't believe it. It's almost like Verizon made them do it. Like you guys, we need something a little ugly. That Moto X, way too sexy. You gotta tone it down. World's not ready for it. But 3 gigabytes of RAM, freaking huge 3,200 milliamp hour battery or something. It's out of control. The phone's gonna be
No, I
crazy.
didn't think I would ever say it, but I think it's time for Motorola to let the Droid line die. I think it's run its course. It's
Oh,
done.
I think they wanted to.
They wanted to, but Verizon
They
keeps
had some
coming
like
to them with
contract with
suitcase.
Verizon. They were like, you have to
Suitcases full of money.
produce one Droid phone a year for the next 20 years or something.
Well,
They're
when
flashing
was,
the money in the face. Like, hey guys, we got like a couple million
what was
bucks
the
here.
last Droid to come out before this Turbo?
Well, for the past 2 years, they've had the 3 Droid a year strategy where they had the Droid Mini or the Droid Razor Mini and then the Droid Razor HD, Droid Razor Max HD or whatever, and then they had last year the same thing, but they dropped the Razor name, and now it looks like they're just going to do one this year. But yeah, they've just been doing this Droid thing for so long. But it's not like it's just a throwaway device. It's not like Motorola's just like, oh yeah, we'll make you one. I mean, they're obviously putting some specs and hardware in it that you can't get from another Motorola phone. So it's
I mean,
It's almost
yeah,
like Motorola's just like, hey, you want another Droid? Here, have this, have this. We'll just put everything in it. You happy now? You want another Droid?
I like what they're doing though, because they're getting rid of like, why buy a Razor when you can buy the Razor Max, which had like way bigger battery, and the Droid Mini and all that stuff didn't really matter anymore because they have, I guess, the lower end version of this would be the Moto X. So if you want that, you can get the Moto X. It's crazy. It's crazy how, I mean, Verizon wanted something so crazily specced out. It's nuts. And capacitive buttons. The thing's got capacitive buttons. I haven't seen those in like forever. So nuts.
Where's the trackball?
nostalgic for my Droid.
It's got a trackball, for heaven's sake.
I think I'm gonna bust out the original Droid and use it for a couple weeks. Might be an interesting idea. You know, try to use the original Droid as your main smartphone for a couple weeks and see how that goes.
Oh my gosh, that thing is so bad.
I still have mine,
Peak-
but you know,
peak
I
that-
look back.
Peak that Froyo.
I look back with some nostalgia on, you know, getting the Droid, and you know, everything
The
changed.
droids are all metal too. That's kind of the funny thing about like everyone like, you know, always making fun of Android devices being all plastic, but those original droids, they had like all kinds of metal and Kevlar, and they were all
They were like boat anchors, man. They were
solid, heavy.
well built.
Yeah.
Motorola's always been pretty good at building nice devices.
All right, so next Nexus tablet, HTC Nexus 9 leaked. Did we learn anything new from this leak, or is just a glimpse at it?
It's just a glimpse at it, I guess.
they're
It looks a
kind of
lot
Further
like
proof that it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Should we expect this to be announced with the Nexus 6?
definitely, 100%.
Seems like
Okay.
the latest buzz on the street is that they're gonna maybe not do a whole big event, but they'll have like a little kind of a Nexus, a typical Nexus rollout where they just
Yeah.
kind of one day soon, maybe next week, possibly.
I mean, that's what they did with the Nexus 5. Kind of like, hey, here's the blog post, here's the phone.
They might have put the blog
By the
post up
way,
right
we're
now.
launching a new phone.
Happy Halloween. God, remember that? It was on
Everybody.
Halloween. We had a podcast on that day, and it was just like mass chaos. We had costumes, and like Chris came on the podcast at the very end because there was so much crap going on. That was a crazy day.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so last bit of news before we move on to our wins and fails. Nokia Here Maps for Samsung phones. What the heck? That's kind of weird. Why are they
I
doing
don't
that?
understand what's going on there.
What
Are
is
they
it here?
trying to
That's on the
eliminate
network.
Google? What was that,
something
Kevin?
that already is Here Maps? Something that already exists. I'm not familiar with it.
Nokia Here Maps. That's what Nokia uses on like Windows Phone devices, and it has like a web version too you can use. Um,
Why not just
and
ping
I
that?
know they had apps on their Android phone, like the Nokia X and stuff, but it's just weird why Samsung is partnering with them when Google Maps exists.
I don't know.
It's Samsung. That's why.
Samsung begrudgingly keeps making Android phones. Like want nothing more than to have something that they want a phone that's not an Android phone. They want their own operating system, but it's just not going to happen. So they begrudgingly are like, all right, we'll keep making Android phones. We have to, but
Yeah.
we don't have to like it. Or Nokia gave them a ton of money, but that seems odd.
Samsung's dream, probably like 5 years from now, I'm sure, is that they're making Galaxy S whatever with Tizen and no Google services.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they
The
think
problem
they
is
can
no one
pretty
wants
much
that.
pull it off.
So.
Nobody does. Ah.
All right, so let's. I guess we'll answer a question quick, and then we'll get to our wins and fails. Harlan P. asks, "What do you think the Google Play devices page will look like after the event blog post? Do you think there will be any new Google Play Edition devices?" It's a good question.
Well, I think that depending on when those devices go on sale. Do you think they'll go on sale immediately? The new Nexus phones?
That's how the Nexus 5 happened, because I remember Chris instinctively bought like 3 of them on that day.
I think what the page will look like right after the blog post goes up will be like an HTTP error because the site will be timing out because so many people will be going there.
Well, I think his bigger question is, are they going to announce new Google Play Edition devices?
No.
No.
I mean, the Google Play thing has been around not very long, but I guess it got its debut not this last year's Google I/O, but before that, and it was kind of just like out of the blue, out of nowhere. It's like, oh, by the way, we have Google Play Edition devices. Then everyone started jumping on the bandwagon. So it's still very much, it was in its infancy, and it's not a new thing, and Google's always changing the way they do stuff all the time. This year's Google I/O, we only saw HTC. They were still like on the ball with Google Play Edition stuff, and they launched theirs. But Samsung was supposed to do a Galaxy S5 Google Play Edition. Never saw it. The Moto G, there was the new Moto Gs, and the Moto X isn't Google Play Edition anymore because they don't really need it.
Yeah.
Those are all running practically stock Android as it is, and Motorola committed to bringing out the updates and super fast. And that was kind of it. All the Google Play Edition devices we saw just weren't selling at all. I mean, trying to convince someone to pay $700 for a brand new smartphone on Google Play, it's just not going to happen. When they can get that exact same phone, they can walk into their carrier store, get it for $100 on contract, $0 on contract. It was just it never made much sense. So that's kind of the whole idea behind Android Silver, which was, well, it's going to be Google Play Edition devices, but these will be sold in carrier stores, so they'll have very limited bloatware and all this other stuff, but you can at least get them for really cheap on contract. And then the guy heading that project ended up leaving Google, leaving the whole project up in the air, messed up a whole lot of stuff. There was rumors that Android Silver was going to replace the Nexus, and then others that Nexus would still live on, and it was one big mess. And then out of nowhere, you have this Motorola phone just rise out of the ashes, the Moto S. I guess for whatever reason, Motorola didn't want, or maybe they do want it to keep it as their own, but Google needs a Nexus phone. Motorola has this Moto S, it's 6 inches, and they're like, okay, we'll just take that one. It's got stock Android on it anyway. We'll call it the Nexus. Slap our Nexus label on the back, and we'll get to go. And that's kind of the reason why the phone looks exactly like a Motorola device. Usually, Nexus phones, they completely look different than the variants that they're variants of. But this one doesn't. It looks exactly like a Motorola device. Got a big old Motorola logo on the back and stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know, maybe this is technically Android Silver or something. I don't know what to call it, but and it's going to launch on Verizon, so you can get it for really cheap on contract, which is kind of cool too. But what was the original question?
You answered it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the larger question that's being asked is kind of when the Nexus 6 launches, are there going to be other compelling options out there for someone that wants a phone similar to the Nexus 6 or specifically Google Play Edition? But as we've seen, I mean, they've already cut back a lot. They've already cut a lot of those Google Play Edition devices off site in general. I'm looking at it now. The only ones listed are the original Moto G Google Play Edition, which I could imagine disappearing very soon, and then the
I don't know
HTC
what's
One
on it.
M8 Google Play Edition. So if anything, if they change anything, I would imagine they launch the Nexus 6 and they might discontinue the Moto G Google Play Edition at that point in time. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be adding any new devices beyond the Nexus devices on that day.
I don't even think can you. I mean, I don't know if you're on the Google Play website right now, but I don't think you can even buy a One M8 Google Play Edition anymore. I think those were like completely out of stock.
No, it's still listed up here. $700. Leaves warehouse in 1 to 2 business days.
Yeah, who wants to buy that?
I'm gonna do that.
All right, a quick comment here from someone. It says they searched for Nokia here in the Google Play Store. Yeah, you can't find it because it's only for Samsung devices, and it might not even be available yet. I think they might have just announced that it will be soon
Oh,
or something.
yeah, coming out soon.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, wins and fails of the week. Kevin, kick it off.
All right, so my win of the week. Y'all heard of this app? It's been around for a while called Cycloramic for iPhone.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have not.
So if you're not familiar with this app, it's kind of hard
For
to
Android too. Just
it's kind of hard to explain initially, but if you imagine the iPhone, I guess from the 4 to the 5S, it was a very square device, and you can take your iPhone and sit it on its edge, and it'll balance and sit upright. So this device, Cycloramic, is a camera app that you balance your device on its edge, and it uses your device's internal vibrating motor to spin the device in a circle, so you can do a 360 panorama without holding the phone.
What?
So, of
That's
course,
awesome.
this app, my win is that this app has been updated for the iPhone 6. Of course, they can't update it for the iPhone 6 exactly because the iPhone 6 has rounded edges, so it doesn't stand on its edge. But they actually released a little video showing you that you can take your iPhone power adapter, which is a square, prop your phone up inside of the power adapter, and they've adjusted sort of how Cycloramic responds, and you can get the same effect with your iPhone 6, and it actually, because of the way it works and sits in it, it puts your phone at an angle that can even make it better for group selfie type things. You have to really watch this video to see it. If you know the app, you might kind of get what I'm saying. But they have a video for Cycloramic for iPhone 6 on YouTube. Pretty cool that they. It seemed like the iPhone 6 form factor could have killed that app, but they found a way to make it work. So that's my win of the week. My fail of the week, on the other hand, another Apple thing, an Apple fail. GT Advanced, the company responsible for, they just opened this new Arizona manufacturing plant with Apple. They were going to be making sapphire crystal glass displays for iPhone devices in the future. That company just filed for bankruptcy, so it looks like Apple's plans for having scratch-resistant, second only to diamond toughness smartphone screens is in limbo right now. They're still going to have the sapphire display on the iWatch. That's not going to be affected by this because apparently this GT Advanced wasn't really working on the iWatch display glass, but the iPhone display glass is kind of up in the air. And this is after they just invested a lot of money in outfitting this whole factory in Arizona with all the materials to build these displays and everything. So there's some questions about when Apple will be able to deliver on those promises.
All right. My win of the week is going to be Cortana for the second week in a row. This week, she can flip a coin. I guess all you have to do is just say, open up Cortana and say flip a coin, and then like a cool animation comes on of a coin and it flips. So if you ever are in those situations where you need to decide between two things and you want to flip a coin, it's the digital age. Do it with your phone.
Or you just do what I prefer and actually flip a Windows phone in the air. So.
Get it, flip it, let it land on the floor.
Yeah, but that would require having a Windows phone, and none of you have one. And not many people do.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair.
I think I'm gonna buy one though.
I do flip a coin a lot. I am a very indecisive person, so I would totally use that.
What, like you're like, should I get Chinese or pizza for dinner? And then you're like, flip a coin.
Yep. My fail of the week is gonna be Bendgate. It continues.
Oh.
People are still bending phones because apparently that's still a thing that people do. I thought it would be dead by now, but someone bent Note 4 in it, and it bent. Uh-oh. Got another fiasco on our hands. Yeah, okay, look, if you bend anything, almost anything, as hard as you possibly can, it will bend.
Yeah.
Almost anything will bend. That's just the world.
The thing that sucks is I watch every single one of these videos. Every time they come out, I'm the first guy that clicks it because I'm like, I can't believe he's gonna bend it.
Chris is like, first.
Commenting first. It's
Chris
just
perpetuating this problem by giving them.
No kidding.
I hate it. I hate myself for it. And really, like, these things aren't. It's like the drop test. Though. It's not really. It's not answering an actual question. It's not. You can't tell how much force the guys have given it. It's not. It's not a real world like use case scenario. There's nothing about it that's useful to anybody. But
well, Chris, this is just Bendgate 1.0. Bendgate 2.0 will have like force sensors, and we'll be able to know exactly how much weight these people are putting into it, and what it takes.
It's
just
so ridiculous. I mean, I equate it to people that watch like girls that like smash bugs with like high heels on, and they just watch that over and over. Like, yeah, it's kind of. You never heard of that?
That's a little bit more weird than.
I don't venture to the weird corners of the internet that you do, apparently.
I can't believe you never heard. Okay, whatever.
Don't have to tell us about what your girlfriend does in her free time, man.
You know what, Chris? Whatever turns you on, that's between you and the computer screen. We'll move on. What are your wins and fails?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was America. It's my win is going to be Google Voice MMS. So Google announced earlier this week, out of nowhere, it seems like they really weren't doing much with Google Voice, but after integrating it with Hangouts, finally, after all this time, they announced that they are finally bringing. I know it's crazy, but MMS to all these different carriers, and now it's fully supported. Google Voice or MMS is sent to Google Voice numbers. The MMS messages sent to Google Voice numbers will now go to your phone. Before, there was these weird workarounds where only Sprint supported it, and you had to port your number in, and then you could do it. T-Mobile kind of had support for it, but you would get like an email if someone sent you an MMS to your Google Voice number. But now they've opened up support to tons and tons of carriers, and for my fail of this week, it's going to be that it's supported by everyone but Verizon, and this isn't.
Oh my gosh.
This isn't the Google's move. This isn't like, oh, they forgot to include them. It's literally Verizon just put up the hand and just said, nah, we're not going to support it. And the way Google worded it was that it's so easy to enable. All they have to do is flip a switch to enable it, but Verizon's just not playing ball. They don't care.
I don't even understand how Verizon can do that, because I thought Google Voice just worked over data.
It sort of does. That's the weird thing about Google Voice is that it's very strange the way it does work, but it kind of does. It kind of doesn't. There's numbers that get forwarded, and everyone has their own unique number that's on top of your phone number, and it's just really weird and strange the way it works out. But it's just funny because I got my mom to use Google Voice. Google Voice is not user-friendly at all, so unless you're really want to get, for some reason you really think you need it, but I got my mom on board with Google Voice, and just the other day she was like, why is it when your Aunt Martha sends me those funny picture messages, I never get them? And I'm like, wait, what? That's so weird. And then I found out that she's on Verizon, and I'm like, oh, she's on Verizon, Mom. They're not cool. She's like, that's lame.
I mean, it boils down to, in some small way, they're trying to keep people sending MMS on their regular net. I don't know.
I mean, just let alone who's even using it. I feel like it's such a legacy feature. I mean, really, are people still using SMS that much? Let alone picture messages through MMS, which compresses them down to 4 kilobytes, all blurry and it just seems so. I don't know.
Can't tell you the last time I sent an MMS.
I can't. I don't think I really ever have.
We're talking about MMS strictly in the sense of MMS, not like an iMessage photo message, which is sent over.
That gets sent. That gets sent over data and stuff like that. Yeah. But
I mean, people use functionality similar to MMS, but the actual MMS text messaging protocol.
Yeah. I mean, I've since just moved on. Ever since I moved into Hangouts, it's everything's done through there. I'm sending GIFs and videos and all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, sucks. That's my fail.
All right. So let's recommend some apps. Kevin, what do you got?
All right. I am going to go ahead and go with the new Adobe line of they call it the new mobile canvas for iOS. Adobe has overhauled their mobile offerings for their various illustration and photo editing, video editing apps. Of course, these won't be for everybody, and they're free when you have the Adobe Creative Cloud subscription or whatever model they're using these days to sell Photoshop. So, I mean, you have to be a Photoshop user or have paid for this already, or it's kind of expensive to get into it. But that aside, if you use any of these apps like Illustrator or Photoshop or Premiere, there's some nice new iOS apps that are designed to bring some of that functionality to the smaller form factor and make it actually useful. So that instead of trying to cram all your Photoshop features into an iPad or iPhone app, they make it more familiar to a mobile interface with kind of classic filters and little image adjustments and things like that. And of course, through the Creative Cloud, you can share whatever you've created on your phone and move it back to your larger desktop editing software. So again, not for everybody, but for people that work with these applications on their computer and want to have a nice little way to do some mobile editing on the go, they've vastly improved, and these are again free for anyone who's already subscribed and owning those desktop apps.
Look who's
My
back.
dog's barking again. Here's some actual breaking news. Verizon's going to have the Sony Xperia Z3B, and it has a bigger battery and NFC wireless charging. That's kind of cool.
Wait, what?
Yep, just happened. Press release. It's official.
Wait, more internal storage? How are they doing this?
No, I said bigger battery. I didn't say anything about internal storage.
No, it's got internal storage.
You're reading further into it than me. Okay.
Freaking crazy.
That's cool though. I mean, that means it's probably going to be coming to other U.S. carriers if it's on Verizon, because Verizon's usually the hardest one to get on.
Oh my gosh, so. I literally have goosebumps right now.
It's nice to see too that it's, instead of being like a dumbed down version of the phone, they've actually added some features to it.
Well, Verizon does this, right? They do this all the time. Like with the LG stuff, it's like theirs has wireless charging that no one else does. They try to hold off, and they've
even done that with Windows Phone devices. They added wireless charging to an HTC Windows Phone. I remember when no one else had it.
So it's like they're not satisfied with getting just the same old device that all the other carriers have. They're like, no, if you want to put it on our network, you better add some pretty freaking cool features, man. And then people do. I mean, all these OEMs. Oh, that's so freaking awesome.
All right, sweet, man. That's a nice phone.
All right, so back to our app picks. Mine is going to be an iOS app called Flick, F-L-I-C, and this is basically Tinder for your photo gallery. So you take a lot of pictures, your gallery gets full of photos, and you want to go through and get rid of some of the bad ones and some of the ones that you don't need anymore, otherwise your phone's going to be full. Flick makes it kind of fun because it's an interface like Tinder, so it just goes through every photo, and then you can swipe right or left, keep it to get rid of it, and you can clean out all your camera roll really quick and easy. I thought it was a pretty cool idea because I do that a lot. I'll go through and all right, I need to clear some of these out, and it's kind of a pain, but this would make it a little bit more fun, and got to have that first reaction. Do I want it or do I don't? Just make a decision.
Yeah, well, kind of on this note, just to kind of steal the train of thought for a second, Chris, have you used iOS 8 enough to see how the gallery in iOS 8 now, it's impossible to find your older photos?
It only goes down so far, right? Like now there's
instead of having a full photo album, it just has your recent photos, and to see your full photos, you have to go into that. What I don't like, those automatically generated, regionally based. It's weird.
Wait, so are they in my phone? No, they're in there, right?
They're in there, but you gotta look for them. They're not easy to find. You gotta go look for them.
Oh, okay. So that makes me feel a little more comfortable, because I literally thought that when I restored my phone, that it didn't back up all of them. It only backed up the most recent 200 or something, and I was like, oh,
no, it's something is strange with it. It really irritates me, but I guess that's for another time.
Chris with the Zoolander moment there. Are they in the phone?
Wait, so are you telling me they're trapped inside my phone? Okay, so I guess we'll move on to my app pick. My app pick's gonna be Zoe. 1.0.
I always say Zoe in my head when I see that app. Zoe. I don't know why.
Zoe. It's officially out of beta, and it's available for pretty much every phone out there. I have it on my Moto X. This is HTC's. It kind of replicates what you could already do with like the Moto X. Photo Gallery has this feature now, which tried to imitate what Google Plus Photos was doing, but not everybody has Google Plus Photos. Not everybody wants to mess with Google Plus. Not anyone. And I totally get that. So Zoe is pretty awesome because it allows you to make cool little slideshows and combine video clips and pictures and stuff into these little movies that you can share with people. It's kind of its own social network. And then they also announced at this event, the Double Exposure event, that it's going to be coming to iOS as well. So that completely opens it up. So now it's like, okay, I might actually have friends that use this in the near future. So I think it's definitely worth checking out because it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to make little videos and share them with people. And then they can even collaborate. So people that do see them, they could even take those, put in their own stuff, and make their own like redone video. So it's neat.
I just saw you hold up a phone there. Did you order a custom Moto X?
Oh yeah. I don't know if I talked about it last week, but I got the wood Moto X in.
What is that?
Bamboo.
Okay.
So it's a little bit. It was a little bit darker than I thought it would be. I thought it would be really bright, nice wood, but I put it in my jeans the other night, which my jeans are like these black Levi's, and bad idea. So the dye was like transferring all over to the wood, and when I got it, it was all dark when I pulled my phone out. So this morning I took some good old household bleach, just rubbed it in there. It smells wonderful now. But it lightened it up. It lightened it up a lot, and it looks like a lot brighter. It's wonderful finish to it. It's like a matte finish now. It was kind of like glossy before. It looks great.
Yeah, 'cause you like burned off the gloss, dude.
Yeah. For those who don't know,
Smells
Chris
awesome.
really likes the smell of bleach. Like you'll find this kid huffing.
Yeah, he gargles bleach. Crazy.
In the bathroom. But yeah, so it's nice. I like it.
All right, so last thing in the podcast, I'm gonna confess something. I'm only gonna confess on this podcast, and only people listening to this podcast are gonna know.
You're
I
moving
made
on
a
over.
video yesterday about putting a screen protector on the Moto 360, and a couple of people saw in this video that when I peeled off the supposed protective layer, I also peeled off the entire screen protector. So then afterwards, I'm looking at the 360 in the video. I'm like, man, I can't even tell that the thing's on there. I think I did it perfectly. People pointed this out, and I'm like, no way, that can't be true. So I pull out my 360, and sure enough, the screen protector is not on there. But I'm not going to let these people know that they got me. So I took 4 attempts to actually apply the screen protector. I finally got it on there, took a picture of it, and I was like, no, see, it is on there. So if you listen to this podcast, you know what really happened. But otherwise, secret.
That is incredibly embarrassing.
I know.
That's always the trickiest part I found is when you try to take the screen protector, that little layer off of it. Like it always ends up pulling it off, and I'm shoot, and then get down there, and I'm like, no. But that's always the trickiest part, and that's freaking hilarious.
I was so proud. I was like, man, I got it on the first try. Because you always run into trouble with those. Because when I did do it for real, like I said, it took me 4 tries. Because, of course, it got dust under it a couple of times. And it's a nightmare. That's why they give you so many when you buy them. I mean, it was a 6-pack, and I used 4 already.
Dang. I mean, I will say this, though. Like, it's got Gorilla Glass on it, and it's really strong. I mean, I've literally banged this. I've scraped it on walls. I've hit it on things, and like not even the metal gets dented because of the steel band.
I've heard a lot of conflicting reports. Some people saying that they have scratched it. A lot of people actually saying that the black model, the casing gets really easily scratched. I haven't run into either of those problems, but I guess we'll see.
Not a dang thing on it, and I hit it all the time on stuff. I was really concerned about that. I was thinking about buying a screen protector, but I don't even care anymore. Thing's a tank.
Yeah. Well, I got it on there now, and you can't even tell it's on there, really.
But is it really on there, though?
It is really on there now, so
can't even
that's our little secret, podcast listeners. All right, so I guess that'll wrap things up. You can send us a question with our email address, podcast@mobileroar.com. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Windows Phone Store. And you can follow us on Twitter. Chris is at GamerCore, Kevin is at You Don't Know Kev, and I am at Tall Schmo. And we'll be back next week, I guess, depending on the Apple stuff. I don't know if we'll be at the same time, but we'll be back. So, see you then. Later.
Bye.